Hi guys, I'm Samantha, as you all know, or I hope. And I'm going to talk to you a bit about my favorite part of New York City, which is the theater district, or Broadway. And my title is The Case for Broadway. New York is known as the melting pot for both culture and for the fine arts, food arts, for performing arts, which is where Broadway falls under. And a lot of people like to think of previously mentioned, other than the performing arts, as the epitome of culture. However, in my opinion, New York's culture is shown through, and America's culture really, is shown through Broadway and the productions on Broadway. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the importance of Broadway and some facts about Broadway and my personal experience with Broadway. One of the biggest misconceptions is that Broadway is located on Broadway Avenue, and that's it. It's not. It's between 41st Street and 54th, between 6th and 9th Avenues, excuse me. And it was, city planners started creating it in 1811. However, theater didn't become popular until the early 1900s, and that's when it really started booming. And that's when it got its nickname, the Great White Way. And I have a picture to prove that it is the Great White Way, because at nighttime, all of the white lights that advertise the theaters and the different shows creates this great white way. It shines all throughout the night. It's really quite beautiful, actually. There are 40 on-Broadway theaters. To be considered an on-Broadway theater, you have to have at least 500 seats or more for your patrons. So technically a theater could be in the theater district or Broadway, but if it has 499 seats or less, it's considered an off-Broadway production. So for playwrights and actors alike, it is a huge deal to be given a spot on an actual on-Broadway theater stage. And as a patron of the arts, it is one of the most magical experiences you could ever really have, is going and seeing one of these huge productions and being a part of the crowd. One of the biggest important facts about Broadway is its culture, and it really opens your eyes up to not only American culture, but there's plays that will show you history of different cultures around the world, and it really just helps you become more of a nurtured, cultured, and entertained person, and you can leave the theater feeling more creative. I know when I was younger, and even to this day, I would leave the theater and think, I'm going to go start singing like that, or hey, I'm going to be a playwright. Neither of which have happened yet, maybe one day. But the biggest importance of having Broadway is for New York's economy. In 2012 to 2013, during the theater season, they brought in upwards of $1.2 billion by selling more than 12 million tickets. And that is a lot of money for my city, and I'm happy that people did that, but that brings me to the one and only downside that I could ever find in Broadway, which is the high influx of tourists. And if you guys think that Waikiki gets bad with tourism, oh my gosh, walking down, just trying to get to a friend's house or just trying to go to your favorite production during holiday seasons in Broadway, it is panic attack inducing. I freak out as a New Yorker. There are so many people, it's stop and go walking traffic. It is horrifying. But with that being said, that's the only downside, and they do bring in so much money, so you kind of have to, turn your shoulder to it and get over it a little bit. So my experience with theater has been, my favorite has been musical theater. And I've seen some plays. There was a play called Proof where it was about a young girl and her father. They found a mathematical equation, and I didn't really understand it much, but it was a cool play, but no music. It wasn't that entertaining for me, I guess. I was pretty young, but I've seen upwards of 15 different plays, and I'll pass this around. These are some of the playbills of the plays I could remember off the top of my head that I've seen. The first play that I had ever seen on Broadway was The Sound of Music, and this was in 1998, and it was the revival of it. And my father recollects me being just mesmerized by the music and by the scenery and setting, and everything was just so enthralling that I was hooked from then on. He then took us, me and my sister, to see a play called Cats, a production he hated because it's adults dressed as cats and singing, and I loved it. And they had little mice run into the audience, and it became interactive, and it was so cool, and my dad hated it. And then there's Rent, something I hope most of you have at least maybe heard of it, or some of the music. It's an inspiring story. Wicked, Proof, Hairspray, 700 Sundays, which I don't know if you guys know Billy Crystal, but it's really great. The Glass Menagerie, which I was honored to have a friend actually act in. Oklahoma, The Phantom of the Opera, which is, to this day, the longest running Broadway production in history. It started in 1988, and it is still going strong on Broadway in the same Majestic Theater that it has been in. It's called Majestic Theater. It is a Majestic Theater, but it is called the Majestic Theater, which is one of the most highly known theaters in all of New York. Mamma Mia, which was another one of my favorites. I don't know if you guys know ABBA, but it's a production of all their music, and I apparently stood up on my seat and started singing along with every lyric of every song with the actor. I don't know if that's really kosher to do, so I'm not recommending you guys do that, but it was fun for me. I've seen Annie Get Your Gun, Avenue Q, which is kind of the adult version of Sesame Street. Very adult version of it. So don't bring your kids. And Bring Into Noise, Bring Into Funk, which is another late 90s production, which is loud tap dancing, and they had tops of metal garbage cans that they were banging, and I kind of hated that one. Chicago, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof with Scarlett Johansson recently, which was super cool to see her on live Broadway stage. And those are just a few of the places that I've been. I also forgot to mention that within the theater district is Times Square, which is another huge tourist attraction and another thing that New Yorkers hate. But it's beautiful, because if you don't experience city life where you're from and you go into Times Square, there's all these lights and tall buildings and just action going on everywhere, and it's really incredible, and I can see how it's a huge tourist experience. And in conclusion, while I enjoy all of the fine arts and especially the food in New York, my favorite thing is Broadway, and I believe that everyone should at least experience it once in their life. And if going to New York is kind of out of the question for you financially or because you're busy, then go to a play, see something. It will really enrich your life. It is truly incredible. And like Jeff Siminoff, a NYU writer, says, Broadway theater is one of the most important arts and entertainment industries in the world. So don't ignore it, even if you think that it's going to be boring. I think you'll have a really good time. And I'll just pass around my visual aids if you guys want to see what playbills look like. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And then there's a picture of Times Square in a bright white way. And that's it. Thank you.